and firewood and all that. I was cursing myself. I was cursing the day I was born, cursing her, cursing everything around me. But when I got to Russia, I discovered that I needed to study extra because I came late. And then my professor said, you would never master this language because you came late, then you have a funny accent. And there's no way you can ever speak this language, that you are not going to make it. So that was when I said, I will study, I will work hard. So from that day, I took a decision that I will read like never before. I said, what will it cost me to go to the library? I never saw a library in my life because I went to a community local school, nothing like library, but I saw library. They had, rugs on the floor. They had, everything cool, warm, aircon in the summer. And I said, hey, my God, if I was in the sun that I endured in my village just to eat, and the struggle and the pain and the suffering that I needed to go through just to eat and go to school. Now you are giving me apartment, you are giving me a room, you are giving me, I'm not even working, you're giving me all this luxury just to read. I said I will use the same energy that I used to gather firewood. I will use that energy to devour these books. So
wow, really, thank God for well. That's that's talking mostly about the also the spiritual side of things, time management, and all those other bits. What about in the area when we say the area of say maybe pride or materialism?
Oh, that is a big one. Well, like we used to have everything before I was 6. Our family, we had everything. So when this tragedy happened in our family and we lost everything, and all the prominent people died in 6 months, and then from having everything to having nothing, to almost being homeless and just going to the bush just to eat. My brother that was in school, he was in boarding school, he was the top student there, respected by everybody, and he had to be sent back home. So when he came home, he was always crying every day. And when he cried, he would say, what will it profit a man to gain the whole world and then lose his soul? So everybody was saying, why do you always say this? What will it profit a man to gain the whole world and then lose his soul? What will it profit a man to gain the whole world and then lose his soul? So they said, why were you saying this all the time? So then he told us a story that it was a star of the school, having everything he needed. That now, when all his resources had gone and all his brothers that he relied on that died, some kids in his class were mocking him and making a joke at him and started quoting. We were not Christians, but these guys knew that scripture. So they were quoting it to him that, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and then lose his soul? So that you had everything and then you have lost everything. What does it profit you? But it had a deeper meaning. We didn't know that, but we are only thinking about our particular situation at that particular time, that we had everything and then we lost everything. So that totally killed in me the desire and the hunger for material things, because we already had it. So what does it profit you to first of all have it? It's better not to even have it than to have it and then go and lose it. And I know what that means because we used to have it. I never knew what was bush or firewood or would get injuries in your body because you needed to forget firewood. But now we had it, then we lost everything. And what does it profit? It's good to even not taste it than to have it and then lose it. So that also left a mark, indelible mark in me, saying, so if you can have it, get everything, the whole world, and then lose it, or lose your soul, it means it's not the paramount thing. It's not the most important thing. It's not the paramount thing. So if it's not the paramount thing, there must be something higher. So I lost taste for anything material since then. So even now, I don't fancy prosperity messages or talking about money. I can't stand it. Even though, I'm blessed, it's not because because of that I don't like prosperity or something. I use it, but I never think it's something we should focus on or we should make focal point, or of people, and making people to focus on that. So because you will lose it eventually, even if you don't lose it in this world, when you die, you will still lose it. So it's not so, and that is the wisdom Jesus was trying to teach us, that don't focus on material things. But I learned that the hard way. I learned that lesson the hard way. So that is one thing. But also our family, our upbringing also helped me, because in our family nobody was smoking or drinking, or so things like that.
Your grandmother that looked after you in the village, it's like she became like a mother to you. You got so attached to her.
She was the only mother I knew. She was the only mother I knew, because what happened was, I had a very interesting story. I grew up in this family. It's called Adelaja family. In Idomila, they actually call it the Bale family. It's like the local chief, local king, the village king, the village king. So that is the royal family. So the father, the father of the house had died before I came to the world. So my mother was one of the daughters of the king. So she married a man from the big town, the Ijebu town, and but this man that she married happened to be a brute of some sort. He was abusing her, beating her, maybe drinking as well. Something, maybe it was violent, maybe it was not drinking, but somehow violent. But there are two parts to this story. Some people say it's because he was so poor that the royal family was saying it's a disgrace for our daughter to be married to him. But other people say, that's what I was told when I was growing up, that he was abusing my mother. So to cut a long story short, the family of my mother, the royal family, said, no, we will not allow our daughter to be married to this kind of a man, maybe because of his poverty or because he was a brute. So they decided, they had just been wedded for 6 months. They decided to take back their daughter. That's the language. We are going to collect or take back their daughter. So they took their daughter back, my mom, back home, and they were ready to give her in marriage to another man. Then they discovered she was pregnant. And get what that pregnancy was. Who was inside?
That was you.
That was me. Wow. So they had to let her stay back in the family house. So she was 6 months pregnant or 5 months pregnant. And then, so she came back pregnant from this man, but they had divorced. No, they had cut relationship. So, and they would not allow her to go back to him. And they would not allow him to come and even see her or see the child. So she gave birth. Then she stayed maybe in the family for 2 years, and then she married again. So she married to another state altogether. So she left, and I was left with my grandmother, with her mother. So then there were other kids that were bigger than me. So I grew up with everybody else. So, just a little bit over me, and I was the last. So it was natural for me to think the grandmother was my mother, because there were people just over me, and we were all in the family. And then I was calling her my mother, in our local language. And until I was 12 years old, when somebody came to visit us. Maybe she had been coming before then when I was smaller, but I couldn't recollect. But when I was 12, they said somebody had come to visit us. Then one day I was playing in the bank, and somebody said, "That is your mother." I was so annoyed. She was a younger lady, but I would say, "No, that is my mother." So I couldn't comprehend it, or to reconcile the fact that this younger lady was my mother. My mother was supposed to be the old woman, And then I went to my grandmother to talk to her about it. And she said, that was anyway when the truth came out, that she was not my mother. But at that time, I didn't have any motherly feeling. I couldn't really have any motherly feeling to any other person. The only person I could have this motherly feeling to was my grandmother. So it's a great loss for parents who give away their children before they are matured enough to love them. So up to now, even though I love my mother, but I'm loving her out of obligation. Wow. I love her with Christ's love, But my real love, like with the maternal love, the really, family love, the really blood love I had for my grandmother that I lost when I was 15. Wow. So now I still feel I don't have a mother, or even though I love my mother.
But in 1 minute, you wrote a book about her called Olorunwa, which means there is God. Can you just in 1 minute tell us what you put together in that book?
It's my way of saying thank you to her. I wrote her a letter in that book, and I was addressing others. I've dreamt for her to live to see who I am today. I never knew she would never live to see. I was a hooligan when I was growing up with her. I was abusive to her. I was non-obedient. I was disobedient to her. I was violent. I was, rough, and I was totally disobedient. And I was thinking when I grew up, I would recompense and compensate for her. But I lost the opportunity. So this book, Olorunwa, was the name she used to call me. I said, that your Olorunwa has become the dream you had for him.
Well, you know what? I want to just thank you for watching. And this particular program is ended here. But there is a part 2. And there's going to be a part 3. So please make sure you're on the lookout for the second part of it. God bless you as you continue to watch and put into practice what you have heard. Bye for now. Pastor Sunday Adelaja, the pastor of the largest church in Europe, the Embassy of God, is initiating a move of God in this nation called the History Makers Bible School. The History Makers Bible School takes place only on one Saturday every month to equip you for the next level. It will also be a good opportunity to network with like-minded Christians. You will receive tried and tested keys to church growth and pastoring without tears at the Emmanuel Center, 9 to 23 Marsham Street, Victoria, London, Southwest 1P 3DW.